We're not saying we condone their actions, but we can't help but have a soft spot in our hearts for these bad guys.
I'm Lotso Huggin' Bear, but please call me Lotso.
Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 sympathetic movie villains.
So then you can just tell us.
For this list, we're looking at those villains that we come to empathize with and care for, in many cases due to a tragic backstory.
I have brought peace, freedom, justice, and security to my new empire.
We're excluding anti-heroes from this list, as they have to be full-fledged villains in order to be eligible. Also, let this serve as your spoiler alert.
Not anymore.
Number 10. Brigadier General Francis X. Frank Hummel, The Rock.
That order!
What the hell is wrong with you, man?
Frank Hummel is without question a terrorist and a villain, but one with a tragic history and a surprising amount of heart.
Well, I have choked on these lies my entire career. Well, here and now, the lies stop!
Hummel takes over Alcatraz and holds tourists hostage, but he's not out to get money for himself. He wants the $100 million in government ransom he's demanded to go to the families of soldiers he worked with who died and were never compensated. However, Hummel was unfortunately unable to hire men as altruistic as himself, and a mutiny ensues.
This mission was based on the threat of force. I'm not about to kill 80,000 innocent people. Do you think I'm out of my mind?
It's a heartbreaking and selfless story that makes us feel emotionally invested in the outcome, even if his method of obtaining the money is a little less than orthodox.
Oh God, what have I done?
Number 9. Andrew Detmer, Chronicle.
Hey, hold on.
This underrated sci-fi gem boasts one of the most unique movie villains in a while, one who is just as relatable and sympathetic as the heroes.
Shit, man, is that Andrew? It sounds kind of like Andrew under there.
When 3 teenagers mysteriously inherit superpowers, Andrew lets it negatively influence him, using them for destruction and murder. But his motivation for these actions can in some ways be explained by the sad nature of his home life, with his mother dying of cancer, his father an abusive drunk, and school bullies tormenting him the rest of the time.
Crush you, stop it! Crush you!
While he originally uses his powers to defend himself, he lets things get out of hand. But that only demonstrates his flawed humanity. Number 8. Khan Noonien Singh, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan.
I cannot help but be touched. I, of course, remember you.
This film's exalted standing is bolstered by Khan's strength as a formidable and sympathetic villain. He was first introduced to TV audiences in the original series episode Space Seed, where the genetically engineered superhuman awakes after centuries in suspended animation, attempts to overtake the Enterprise crew, and is ultimately exiled by Kirk on a distant planet.
I shall leave you as you left me.
Between the events of the episode and the film, however, a massive planetary shift results in the death of Khan's wife and others, and Khan places the blame squarely on Kirk.
Still, old friend. You've managed to kill just about everyone else, but like a poor marksman, you keep missing the target.
While we don't condone his actions, we can certainly appreciate why he'd want revenge. However, Khan's villainy leads to Spock's death, and there's only one thing to say about that. Number 7. Gollum, the Lord of the Rings franchise.
We'll be nice to them if they be nice to us.
On the page or on screen, the creature formerly known as Smeagol was once a hobbit like any other.
Must have the precious.
But thanks to a fateful fishing trip, his life immediately began spiraling into obsession. Falling under the immense power of the One Ring, Smeagol slowly but surely regressed into a barely recognizable monster, pushed to deceive and murder for his precious.
He wants the precious. Always, he's looking for it.
Seeing the internal struggle between Smeagol and his alter ego Gollum is as heartbreaking as it is pathetic. as this same destiny could have befallen anyone. It was simply an unlucky twist of fate. But not everyone could have helped in the quest to destroy the ring and its power, meaning Gollum was a conflicted and sympathetic villain.
Precious!
Number 6. The Phantom of the Opera. An oldie but a goodie, this classic villain has been terrifying and moving film audiences for almost 100 years. While the deformed face beneath the Phantom's mask is certainly scary, we can't help but feel bad for this tragic figure, as he's forced to conceal himself for his own personal comfort and security.
Damn you!
He also deeply and sincerely loves Christine Daae, a performer at the opera and his muse. True, he does murder innocent people in order to make her a star, but his blind devotion to her is quite charming in its own twisted way. Number 5. Koba, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Human. What? Human. What?
What do you think would happen if the lab animals we experimented on suddenly developed extreme intelligence and escaped? After spending his life being tortured for the advancement of science, Koba became cruel and aggressive. When exposed to ALZ-113, his intellect skyrocketed, making sure that this pissed-off ape had the brains to escape and fight the humans who had brutalized him for so long.
Apes win war! Apes together, strong!
When with his kind, Koba is a good friend who will fight to save lives. When faced with his human tormentors, or any ape dissenters, it's a different story.
Apes follow Koba now.
But can you really blame him? By the end, you're barely sure who to root for.
You are not ape.
Number 4. Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, the Star Wars franchise.
I'm a person and my name is Anakin.
One of the most iconic villains ever, Darth Vader is both terrifying and intensely tragic.
Help me take this mask off.
But you'll die.
Nothing can stop that now.
In the original trilogy, Vader is the catalyst for most of the action, destroying planets, warping Luke's morality, and causing havoc across the galaxy.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
While he has a change of heart at the end, his backstory is even more heartbreaking. Once a hero, Anakin Skywalker turns to the dark side to save his wife's life. But when he suspects Padme of plotting against him, the death he tried so hard to prevent happens at his own hand. Losing his love leads Anakin to truly embrace the dark side, making him one of the film's most brutal characters, and one of its most human. Number 3. Dr. Octopus, Spider-Man 2. Arguably the greatest villain in arguably the greatest Spider-Man movie, Dr. Otto Octavius was once a lovable dork who couldn't understand T.S. Eliot.
I'm serious. T.S. Eliot is more complicated than advanced science.
But that was before his accident affected not only his physical being, but also his mental health. During an experiment, the good doctor loses his wife when the test goes wrong, and has mechanical arms grafted onto his body at the same time. To know that your own creation led to your loving wife's death is sure to bring anyone into dark territory.
Shut it down, Ock. You're gonna hurt a lot more people this time.
Well, that's a risk we're willing to take.
While he gives Spider-Man a good fight, we can't help but feel sorry for him as he's doing it.
These things have turned you into something you're not. Don't listen to them.
It was my dream.
Number 2. Roy Batty, Blade Runner.
Yes. Questions.
It's hard to believe that this Ridley Scott masterpiece was disliked in its time, especially with an iconic villain like Roy Batty.
Nexus 6, Roy Batty. Incept date 2016.
Possessing exceptional strength and smarts, Roy comes to Earth hoping to extend his extremely short lifespan, as he's a replicant and will die within 4 years, leaving him with only a couple of months.
You were made as well as we could make you.
But not to last.
As mortality is one of the most relatable sources of anxiety, we can easily identify with Batty, who offers up one of cinema's greatest soliloquies to muse on his impending demise.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
This fantastic philosophical argument regarding death cements Roy's status as one of cinema's most sympathetic villains.
Like tears in rain.
Before we shed a tear for our most sympathetic movie villain, here are a few honorable mentions.
It's time to pay, Marco!
You live. You die.
Now we're talking.
I am a god, you dull creature, and I will not be bullied by that.
I'm not gonna fight you. You're my friend.
Number 1. Magneto, the X-Men franchise.
I will bring you home, old friend.
When a character is portrayed by talented actors like Ian McKellen and Michael Fassbender, he gets automatic sympathy points.
So much for diplomacy.
But to delve deeper, Eric Lencher is a Holocaust survivor deeply affected by the atrocities he witnessed.
Oh, it's not so surprising, really. Mankind has always feared what it doesn't understand.
Becoming something of a civil rights activist along the lines of a Malcolm X, Magneto goes further than his real-life counterpart when faced with persecution, wishing to have mutants take their rightful place in control of the world.
The humans have played their hand. Now we get ready to play ours.
With his single-mindedness ultimately leading to the paralysis of his good friend turned mortal enemy, Lencher makes the transition from Eric to Magneto, a supervillain of the highest order.
You sure you saw what you saw?
He's a dark character, but a sympathetic one in the context of his motivations.
Take off your blinders, brothers and sisters. The real enemy is out there.
Do you agree with our list?
I dropped him! Why did you catch him?
What movie villain do you sympathize with?
Abe. Not kill. Abe.
For more heartbreaking top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
That's a bad move, soldier.